Hey guys, glad to have you with us here on another episode of Leadership to Wealth. Our guest today has been in business for many years, started a business at the age of 19, and learned a great deal working in corporate America and learning the processes of building businesses, being able to scale them, and now is a business advisor and teaches people how to not just scale their business to the next level, but sometimes even scaling their business to be able to enjoy your life right now. And we know that if you're trying to make transitions, they can be difficult. And so today on the show, we have Matt Fox. Matt, so great to have you on the show today. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Love it. So Matt, just as we're going to have this conversation, and anytime I have people on, we're really looking for, I'm really looking for the gold in terms of leadership, in terms of the things that, that you were able to see that made a difference for you and for people in terms of building their wealth. And when we say wealth, we obviously talk about anything that's in someone's life, whether it be family, fitness, finance, any of those things, right? We can really, wealth doesn't have to be strictly financial. And so
right.
I as we delve into this conversation, I know you're a man that has done a lot of things in a leadership position, including building out stores that you're working. You took a franchise from 1,000 stores to 4,000, I believe.
Yeah. So a couple different things. I actually was a franchisee in a different world years ago. Actually started my first franchise business at the age of 19. So I've always been that leader, that entrepreneur. That's just always been in my mind. I then later in my life, and this is pretty recent, but helped a larger organization scale their business. So during that time, we went from, that's where you said about 1,000 stores to 4,000, and was a part of that in many different leadership roles within that company.
Mm-hmm. And so actually, you know what, let me come back to that for a second. Let's give the audience a little bit of background on you, Matt, because you just jumped into it, starting a business at 19. So can you give us a little bit of background, born and raised, and to quickly to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background from the United States, so Wisconsin, is really where I spent most of my life.
Yeah.
After college, just kind of fast forwarding a little bit, after college, I joined this larger company and moved around the country. So in 13 years, relocated with them 7 times, and which was kind of crazy. So during that process,
because you've got wife and kids.
During the process, had a wife and 2 kids, and our kids are 5 and 4 right now. But when they were 3 and 4, they've already lived in 4 different states in the United States. So it was every year almost that it was just craziness. so it was a balance for sure.
Wait, can I just pause you for a quick second? Because I kind of got sick. You said had a wife?
Have a wife.
And 2 kids? Have a wife. Okay. Got it. All right.
I have a wife.
Maybe you got one and you lost it along the way in 7 moves. I mean, where's my baseball glove? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere along the way.
Definitely lost some stuff in the transition, but it wasn't my wife.
Right. Okay. Great stuff. Sorry. Carry on. You were saying.
Oh, no. So, held different roles. I'm happy to kind of talk through some of those leadership roles if you'd like. And then recently joined on with a really awesome organization, Cultivate Advisors. And I just work with business owners, small, mid-sized businesses, and just help business owners really become CEOs and the leader of the company that they need to be.
Yeah. And so now one of the things that I got there, when reading up on you and, some of the things that you've done, working with a larger company for those years and helping them scale. You weren't going down your entrepreneurial path at that time, but you were learning a lot of processes for business throughout that period.
Yeah. So as I said earlier on, like I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Like that's just
Yeah.
I love that leadership, coming up with the ideas. And
Yeah.
when I joined this company, this
Yeah.
larger organization, it
Yeah.
was much smaller at the time when I joined, still pretty
Yeah.
big, but they had such this entrepreneurial spirit, this acquisition, finding new business, finding new revenue streams, so like I was able to fulfill my entrepreneurial mindset that I wanted with them, and that's why I stuck with them for so long,
Yeah.
over a decade with them, and um, but really do have a heart for like that small business piece. So
Yeah.
where I feel like I kind of thrive in that world is, like you said, seeing all the processes that a big business does, all the implementation, the leadership structure, and and basically reverse engineering that for a small business. Not necessarily that they're going to all get to this massive scale, but I can
Yeah.
help figure out where we need to go quick, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I actually think it's brilliant. I used to work with the federal government and
Mhm.
up here in Canada,
Yeah.
and one of the things that you get in that is you get to see the bureaucracy, but you get to see the level of processes needed
Mhm.
to run an organization of that size. It's not a it's not a speedboat. It's this giant thing that needs to turn.
Yeah.
But you would never get experience if you just had your own business. One of the things that you would never get is you'd never get that experience until you're finally at that point in time. And
Hmm.
so there are huge advantages, I think. And when I read that, and as you're sharing it, I'm
Yeah.
thinking there's huge advantages to having gone through that, learning all of those things, and then being able to help business owners,
Yeah.
smaller business owners, with knowing all of the things that lie ahead and all of the processes that they're going to need when as they scale their business. I think that's hugely vital.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is in some of these large companies, as you know or could imagine, even within, I'm sure, the government, right?
Yeah.
There's some really good leaders out there that I was able to learn from, and
Mhm.
so I was building my own skill as a leader and a business professional as I went, and so like all that experience comes with me, which is kind of cool, and I just
Yeah.
that's kind of exciting stuff
Yeah.
for me at
Yeah,
least.
absolutely. I think it's brilliant. You've got kids, I've got kids, and
Mhm.
one of the things that I talk to them about often is not taking a job for the money, but
Mhm.
rather for, because they're all teenagers, mine,
Mhm.
and I'm telling them, pick up skills, try
Mhm.
to learn different pieces along the way. And whether it's working at the cash register, whether it's learning about all of that, learning about that interaction,
Right.
whether it's working, my one of my daughters works at a retail store, and so sometimes she's helping people putting on clothes, and with that in the
Refolding
change
them.
room and
Yeah.
stuff. I'm like, hey, learn, there's pieces there, and you're gonna get a lot of human interaction in those things. And so there's a lot of different pieces that you get when you
Mhm.
work in these different places. And it's clear to me, and you can obviously share more about that. It's
Yeah.
clear that you have gotten experience in a lot of these different places, in a lot of these different types of roles that you may never have been able to get in that short a period of time. So uh
Absolutely.
and your entrepreneurial spirit, what I'm hearing, you can clarify, but what I'm hearing is that entrepreneurial spirit actually, um that was in you, you actually took it and learned each of these
Mhm.
pieces along the way, and now here you are applying it
Yeah,
your advising role now.
absolutely, and I've always have lived by this. I mean, it's pretty basic, right? But I've always lived by the model of just saying yes, and um, you have to push back at times. There's definitely that, but saying yes and letting the doors open to whatever that next opportunity is,
Yeah.
and that's why I did move around so often with relocation. Is I just said, yeah, I want to experience the world, or at least the United
Mm.
States, different than I could elsewhere just by myself by going on a quick vacation or spending a long weekend somewhere. Like I got to
Yeah.
go live in a different place, experience life and work and have fun doing it.
Yeah. Well, I've got to ask this question because
Yeah.
you've done the move. Well, how old are your kids?
5 and 4.
5 and 4. Okay.
Yeah.
And so how many moves have they been through?
They've been through 4.
4. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Matt, I feel sorry for your
Uh,
wife, brother. I feel
so
sorry for her.
we made, I know it's like a military family or something,
Yeah.
but we've
I think you've moved more than a military family.
we've made the commitment very recent, within the last 6 months. We
Yeah.
said, hey, if all the stars align and we can get back home, which is where I'm at now. So I'm back in Wisconsin, back near family. Just life worked out this way where we were able to make it happen, and just in time for the kids to start elementary school and kind of work, start at a young age, make new friends and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Are
Yeah.
you a cheesehead?
Well, I'm a Packer fan, but we don't call ourselves cheeseheads. So I
Okay.
think from the outside, maybe people do.
Well, you guys kind of wear cheese on your heads in the stadium.
Yeah, we
Just saying.
so we're maybe just a little less than that, living outside of Green Bay. So I'm like an hour away, and we went
Yeah.
to Lambeau Field this past weekend or two,
Oh,
and yeah, all these
that's
people are putting on the cheese heads. I've never done that in my life.
I mean, I get the extrapolation of Packers and cheese, but
Right.
it's always good fun. I love watching football, and
Yeah.
I picked up. Obviously, I'm here in Canada, and so we
Mhm.
don't have an NFL team, but I picked up with with both Buffalo and Cincinnati with the
Mhm.
Bengals, and I followed Marvin Lewis through his years. So I was
Awesome.
just watching you guys just a couple of weeks ago when as you beat the Bengals. So, anyways, we digress.
Hey.
But hey, listen, it's an important conversation. If you're from the U.S., then knowing if you're a cheesehead, a whole bunch of the audience hates you now because
Yeah.
you're a Packer fan.
Already gone. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just get that out of the way. So, but that moving, again, having kids of my own, and we've moved a couple times now with my kids. We've actually only moved cities once,
Mhm.
but I've seen some of the difficulty in that and the difficulty for them.
Mhm.
Can you speak at all to what you got out of doing those moves, and what you learned as a parent even?
Yeah. So our first like big move where at the time it was just my wife and I. So we
Hmm.
moved 7 hours away from where we know everything we know, which isn't that far, but still far enough where you're out on your own. And it took us a very long time just to meet friends, because it was the first time that
Yeah.
either of us had to like get out there and actually interact as a couple with meeting other couples. And so we had our daughter then, and we were trying to like meet people through all these moves. What like the biggest things that I've learned was quickly get involved with other people and just like start those friendships early. Every move that we've made, I can say every single one, we have a really good close friend or a close family friend, some intentional with like finding people to go meet. Because if we're going to be on this path of always moving around, now I have connections all over the United States that are friends, right? So that's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
and then for the kids, like it was a challenge, even at a very young age. Like they still have friends, they still were in school or daycare, but they're walking away from people that they know every time. So that obviously was a challenge, but we just always had a positive attitude and tried to make the best of it.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is they're young enough
Right.
to be creating new friendships for them, but it's interesting because my kids, when we did our last move, was maybe close to 10 years ago,
Mm.
and so they would have been right
Mhm.
around there,
Mhm.
right? Right around those ages. And now I've got 4. But one of the things that, even for them at that age, to have to leave some kids behind and then have to get new friends,
Mhm.
some of them actually picked up something there. And I,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that they would notice that kind of change at that age. But some of my kids did notice that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, since you notice one of the things was with regards to relationships with friends and that, and picking up friends quickly. What about just in marriage? I mean, that's
Yeah.
got to be difficult, just moving that way and just within the marriage.
Yeah. No, you're 100%, 100% right on that. It
Yeah.
definitely some challenging times, right? Just from figuring it out. The other piece with all these moves is every single one was a promotion, a bigger
Yeah.
team, more complex work, more time that was needed in those roles. So I just naturally like really had to separate work and home life. And
Mhm.
that took many years to figure out like what is that sweet spot, and open communication, like that's the best thing, right? There's times where it's like, hey, you gotta shut off the computer and keep moving, or get off the phone, set it down, because this is home time now, right? Like those are
Yeah.
conversations that you have to have. And
Yeah.
but the last role, for with this big company I was in. I don't know if I mentioned to you yet, but a team of 1,000, right? So constant calls and problems and issues that we were trying to solve for. So it wasn't really until then where I had to like really figure out how am I going to keep these two separate but still be successful at both of them.
Yeah.
The best that I
Yeah.
could, right?
Wow, I completely get that, and I can even see the benefit, the power and wisdom that you even have from that as you now do your consulting. Because
Right.
I've my cousin actually was with oh gosh, American Express out
Mhm.
in Asia, and he was a VP out there, and he had to deal with local time zones. He had to deal with
Mhm.
Amex in the U.S., and so he's doing calls this way, that way, and family just got put aside. Right?
Mhm.
He just didn't have time for a relationship, and so here he is, my age, and didn't pick up on any of those things, and so you learning those things. Let's be honest, as entrepreneurs, that actually plays an even bigger role in our success than
Right.
sometimes what we do in the business. Because
Yeah.
if your home life is crashing,
Yeah.
like
And
the business suffers.
yeah, I mean, I talk with business owners all the time, and we always work through like, what is your vision? Not necessarily like the vision of the company, but like, where do you want to be in five years, right? Like, what is
Yeah.
that vision in your life? And most people, assuming they have a family or a spouse or something, like it's like you said earlier, it's some of it's money, but most people just want to spend more time with the people that they love. And
Mhm.
and so a lot of what we do is like try and figure that out. It's like, okay, let's get you out of the business a little bit, and find a way where you can still be successful, you can reduce your stress level, and you can spend more time with your family.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what's kind of fun about this type of work, is helping people get like their life back in some aspects.
Yeah. 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 Because it's not always just about scaling to the next level. Sometimes it's just scaling to be able to enjoy this level.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. There's I don't know, it's a mixed bag. I mean, it's not even the size of business. There's people who want to take their business to the next level, meaning revenue wise, they want to get to 5 million, 10 million, whatever that looks like. Other people just say like, hey, I'm working 15 hours a day, 7 days a week in my business, and I don't ever see anyone in my family. And that's what
Yeah.
we try and help solve for. And that's like a lot of where I can say, hey, I had this huge team. I mean, mega million dollars worth of business, and I was able to still like figure out how to have a family life. So kind of that reverse engineering mindset, like, okay, how can we do this? We should be able to do that in a smaller business too.
Yeah.
So again, bigger
Yeah.
team I had, right? But still, it's it's all relative.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, being an immigrant myself,
Yeah.
one of the funny things is that you almost don't even build in this thought of that you need to have downtime, or like
Mhm.
hence the reason that so many of us own convenience stores and
Yeah.
things like that
Yeah.
and work 24/7, and you're always at the stores. The kids are always at the store, all of that kind of stuff. Having said that, I don't own a 7-Eleven or a convenience store. Thank you, Homer Simpson, but that isn't there. But but
just to that point, though, if I may,
yeah.
Someone recently told me, and I knew this, but it wasn't until I heard it in these words. I'm like, yeah, that's really interesting. Entrepreneurs have a high capacity for taking on work. So just that an entrepreneur always wants more, always is hungry for more, always is right. And like, so your level of work sometimes, like in your mind, it is. I'll just use that spouse scenario. Like me, I might be very entrepreneurial spirited, always want more, always want to build and develop something. My spouse, she doesn't have that personality, right? So she really values different things in life. So I just have to be cautious of that, as do others.
Wow, that is such a great point. And I would say that was something that for any level of success that I have, absolutely I have to put it on my spouse for that, because she was all about family. She was all about building that in, and we bumped foreheads continually, because I was always working, and even now I still have to work on that. Actually, this is an interesting one. Wow, you just made me think of something.
Sure.
So one of the things that I've realized for myself as a business owner is that I'm going to go into an area that I love and or that I enjoy, and so as a result, it never really feels like work to me. There's pieces here, there's pieces there that are work, but for the most part, I'm playing, and I realize that allows me to go and go and go. I don't need a break from it, and so for most people, they're going to work hard, and I'm like, I'm going to beat you because you're working hard and you're going to need to take a rest. I'm playing out here, so I'm having fun doing what I'm doing. Right?
That's a good point, and I'll even say that made me think about something, because that is very true. Like there's certain parts of coming up with an idea and then going to figure it out, like solve that problem. That's really enjoyable, and at least to me, right?
Hugely addictive.
Yeah, exactly. But not everyone is built that way. So it's just it's understanding that, which is hard, because you're right. Like at the end of the day, I might want to sit down and just like sit on the couch, but I'm good playing, quote unquote, but that it's just a different mindset.
Yeah. And what you brought me present to in that is that I'm playing here with all of the things that I'm doing, and so that conflict that was there between my spouse and I was, it almost felt like she was trying to steal me away from what I was enjoying doing, from trying to grow, from get ahead, and all of these kind of things. And I never really, honestly, until you just said it, I never realized it. It's like she was trying to take away my cocaine. Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Just
I think
an interesting way to
we'll
put
both
it.
have something to go back and think of after this, so that's good.
Yeah, that's great. And it's true. As an entrepreneur, you can do it for all sorts of reasons, right? I mean, some people, it's just about self-worth and their own value, and they're trying to, or sometimes it's just financial. You're just trying to get ahead. You're trying to do something, and then other times all those reasons are all wrapped up into each and every entrepreneur. What I'm curious about is that you started in business and then you moved over to a job, to the job, and so my question is, what happened there? Was it out of necessity that it originally started, or did you see something about that you wanted to make that leap?
Yeah,
because it's a leap that way just as much as going the other way.
At the time, looking back at it, running that franchise that I was doing was awesome. Like I just loved every minute of that, and I wanted more of it. and I kind of wanted it bigger. So I was looking around just to see like, hey, what are my options here? Right. Like you could buy another franchise. You could expand your own business. I found this opportunity where like they were in growth mode and I just wanted to really be a part of that. And so I just went with it. Like I
Yeah.
said, hey, this seems like a really good opportunity. There were some skill sets that I know I would learn doing that I didn't have running my own business. And now I've kind of like come full circle in many aspects. So I'm extremely thankful that I did it. But
Mhm.
yes, it is a job, and it's very different from a mindset
Yeah.
perspective. Now,
Yeah.
in my mind, I didn't necessarily treat it like it was a job. I treated it like it was my own business. But
Mhm.
you could see the people around me that it's just it's a different mentality.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I I have, we talk to so many entrepreneurs on
Yeah.
a regular basis, and one of the things that you realize is that people take on jobs for all sorts of reasons,
Mhm.
and I don't really have any issue with that. It's when someone has to give in or give up some of themselves
Mhm.
to do
Mhm.
to do one or the other, right? And to find out what that is. And so I've got one
Yeah.
friend who, had a job, left, started a business, had some difficulty financially, and so went back to a job where there was the consistency. And um, what was difficult in that situation was to see the pain that she was going through because she felt like she had failed. And I feel like our journey is our journey. The back and forth and whatever you do is perfectly fine.
Mhm.
You're gonna learn, and you got to do what you got to do to to
Yeah,
make it
exactly. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and you're right. Every reason is a little bit different, and you can't
Yeah,
fault anyone for any path that they take. I mean, from
yeah,
someone who's looking to get out of like a job, or just get out of the working for someone else mode. I mean, just going in with like a really strong plan to start your own business,
yeah,
trying to crack the code of like what's best case scenario, what's worst case scenario, how would I solve the problems in both of those, so you don't end up in a place that you don't want to be at the end of the whole thing, right?
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I had a friend of mine who she does business consulting and
Mhm.
things like that, or a lot of public speaking actually.
Cool.
And one of the things that she had said was she talked about entrepreneurs versus intrapreneurs,
Mhm.
and how closely we can be, how close those two are, in just someone who's an entrepreneur, but they're still doing it in a company, and
Mhm.
you're literally
Yeah.
fitting that to a T. You're in the company, you still have all of those pieces to you.
Mhm.
And now here you are, back out and running your business and helping other people build their businesses. I want to ask you something about that, if I
Yeah.
can,
Sure.
because you actually pointed out about the you know underestimating people in the
Mhm.
sense of their complexity. And that was something that you pointed out with regards to as you've grown teams
Mhm.
and businesses. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah. I think the most complex part of a business is the people, right? So the way I look at a business, everything has to center around business financials. And that's part of, so you can have your work life balance. You can
Yeah.
have all these things, but business financials, but like a really close number two is people in the business. That's where all your complexity comes in. You either have people on your side, people working against you. They're the ones who have the like create that employee culture.
Hmm.
It's people is where it's at. So as the owner, like so much energy and attention has to be spent on your people.
Yeah, absolutely. The financials is probably almost the fun part because you
Yeah.
know exactly what the answers are going to be on that
Right,
side.
right, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean, right, all and a lot of the financial problems can be solved through taking care of your people. Um,
Yeah.
right? Like you
Right.
look at some larger companies that have like maybe some higher turnover, or they're not able to like staff because of what's going on out there right now. There's just big staffing needs, and businesses that or owners that can like figure out how to like um, get top talent and keep it on their team solve so many problems out there, right? Like you don't have to have that recruiting cost, the job posting cost. Like, so I'm just tying it back to financials.
Oh, wait. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go back. I got to come back to that. Okay.
Yeah, but it
Yep.
just all ties together.
Yeah. Okay. This is a question that COVID clearly has brought up for people.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you, what was the term you just said?
Attract top
Attract.
talent.
Yeah. Top talent. How do you attract top talent?
Yeah. So different for every size of business, I think, to some degree. But in my mind, it's really about creating a winning company culture. And the cool thing about a smaller company, a smaller mid-sized company, is that's like almost directly the owner who has full control over that, right? Like, so every day as an owner, you have a team of 10, you have a team of 50, 100, whatever it may be. You can get out of bed and like you are the direct impact of what your team's day is going to look like. So you could treat everyone right. You could ask how their personal life's going. You could have some fun events when your team hits some certain goals or metrics. Like you can celebrate that. You can do some fun stuff, or you don't have to do any of that. And really, like the direction of your company is 100% based on you. So I do think to get top talent, the first step is like you have to create a place that people want to work, and a place that. So I'm not going to say like go to this job board and post this and create this job description. I can show you how to do all that stuff, but really it's like you as a leader and then your leadership team having very open communication, giving people space, meaning empowering them to act on the business. Like those are all some of those things that will create like a winning culture, which is the foundation of attracting top talent. I can elaborate further, but that's the core.
Okay, so I got create a place where people want to work, and what are those elements of the places that people want to work?
Meaning, like, what are some of those things?
Yeah, what are some of those things for where people want to work?
Yeah,
because I remember wanting to work at restaurants because I got free food or food really cheap. Of course, I was a teenager, and I could eat. I had a hollow leg, so I could eat forever. So it was great.
Yeah. In this will be any industry, any business, right? You're always going to have people who are driven by certain things. So yes, like for those listening out there, there's going to be people who are driven only by money, only by this, or majority by something like that. But the things that like really I think drive people long term, drive top talent would be a place where someone is empowered to like implement their skills in the workforce. So some of these big leaders out there, they're not looking for someone to come into the place of employment and like have a Jeff Bezos or have a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates or someone tell them what to do. They're trying to find those people that like have these big ideas and can go. So they're looking for leaders within their organizations. That's to some degree what every business should be doing. Is find someone.
So number one, empowerment.
Yeah, find someone better than who you are, or someone that is going to take your company on a 5-year growth plan that's going to get you where you want to go. So empowerment, I think, is like really important. I think top talent wants like open communication. They want to know what's working, what's not working. I think top talent not necessarily wants to be a decision maker, but they want to know what's happening in the company. Like you don't have to give them all the financial information, but like, are we successful? Are we not successful? How far away are we from some of these big goals? Like people who want to be successful in their own lives want to know that the place that they're working is that they're contributing the way they should be, or is there something else that they can be doing, right? So I mean, I think those are three that are pretty impactful.
Yeah. Wow. So if you want to attract top talent, that's awesome. Because I know that is a real concern for business owners. In fact, one of my friends, Val, he actually he actually had to bring in people from another country. He had to work out the whole process to bring people in just to hire staff
Yep.
because he couldn't find the staff that he needed, and there's probably something there, and maybe you can speak to this with regards to COVID. There are a ton of people that are still available to work, but they're choosing not to work right now.
Yeah. So I'll give my example of most recent during COVID, like during the start of COVID, this is when I had the team of 1,000 people, and we were trying to keep our business open, operating, and just trying to, right. I mean, all the scenarios that can come up, and then quarantine and 14 days and trying to figure out this and okay, well, who is exposed here? And like, it was just, and our mind, what we were trying to do with the business is we had this 3 to 5 year vision. We were trying to achieve these goals, and then COVID hits, right? So we were stuck in the middle of, I'm still trying to work this path of my 3 and 5 year goal, but I have some immediate needs to fill on the team. So
Yeah.
fast forward to today, right? People are still dealing with people. There are people out there to work. Some I'm hearing, and I know this to be true too, that people are saying out there that like people don't want to work. People don't have the same effort or desire.
Well,
right?
I think you guys just reported, I think it was in the news a week or two ago that
Yep.
about 4 million people were removed from the stats for
Yeah, it's crazy.
unemployment stats.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not going to like sugarcoat and say like, hey, creating this winning company culture is like going to be the end all be all. That's like your long-term vision. Yes,
Yeah.
today you're going to have to go find someone to fill a job potentially, but
Yeah.
always be looking for that person who's going to bring your company to that next level, who's going to raise the bar. I always looked like when I was hiring for people that I thought would be, so like if I'm looking at a specific level of leadership on my team, I was always looking to find someone that could be the best person. So I was trying to like almost not replace, that's that, but you know what I mean? Like I want to raise the bar. Every time I hire someone, it's going to be someone better. It's going to be someone better. And I'm not going to just settle for mediocre or below par. I'm going to go for the gold. And then if something comes up, okay, we'll deal with that. We'll figure out the next best thing. But I'm always looking for that rock star.
Yeah. You're looking for top talent, the rock stars.
So, yeah. Give me another word, right?
That's great. Okay, so let me ask, when it's coming to, we're talking about businesses, and we're talking about businesses that are existing businesses, and you're trying to help them to scale or just to be able to enjoy where they're at, and so let me ask this question about that. Who are sort of your ideal partners when you're like, oh, this type of business, I know I can crush and I can help them crush it?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So I'm not looking for a type of business per se. I'm more looking for a type of business owner. I'm looking for someone who is humble enough to know that like they don't have all the answers. I use like a fun, I say this kind of like jokingly, but when I sit down with someone and we start evaluating the business, we always use a 1 to 10 scale. And 1 is like, you know nothing about this business category. And a 10 is Warren Buffett's asking you for questions, right? So like no one is always at that 10 necessarily in every category. I'm looking for someone humble enough to know that like, hey, 2 or 3 heads are better than 1 to take the business. I think a lot of people are like really take their business very seriously because it's something they built. They don't think that they want to bring anyone else into that. But the way I look at it is like, I want to partner with people who want to take that business to the next level and are not selfish from that perspective. Like if your goal is your business to get here, bring the right people to the table to do that. So
Mm.
that's really what I'm looking for, is like someone who is in that mode of, I want to take this there, I want to go quick. I know I like, it might just be me, but I don't, some of these big companies have executive teams with boardrooms and all, like, department heads and VPs and all this stuff. A small business has like one, maybe two people, right? So it's getting the right heads to look at the business from different angles to drive it forward.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting conversation because I was even talking with my producer, and we've had this conversation about staffing, and when do you go, how much bigger do you go, when, and all of, and it changes the dynamics, right? Do you hire staff, do you not? Because now if you hire staff, now you're going to have to train them, you're going to have to deal with that. And I think for business owners, there's always that concern. When is the right time for me to hire staff and to move into hiring more staff? Things are good right now. Do I now make that change to and I know that you help people a lot with regards to vision, to be able to flush that out. How are you able to have that conversation? If we're talking to a business owner, what does that conversation look like to help them realize whether they need to hire more people?
So the way I would look at this, as I said earlier, the center of everything we do is business financials.
Yeah.
Okay. So picture an airplane engine. Okay. So you have an engine on an airplane. The center of that is your financial engine. That's how the business drives forward. The blades or the propellers around that are all your different categories of the business. So your sales, your marketing, your recruiting, your leadership, like those are the things that, and if one of those is out of whack, the plane isn't going straight by any means, right? So the sales and marketing side of that engine is your growth side of the business. Your leadership and recruiting is your capacity side. So it's like almost like a teeter-totter. You're either in growth mode, like sales and marketing, you're growing, or you're flipping, you're like, I need to add more people. And then you have too many people. And it's so what the way I look at this and what we try and do is balance all of those propeller blades and make sure that like we have very good clarity of the road ahead, so that we are maybe we're not hiring today, but we're planning when we need to do that months in advance. So as a business owner, I always like to look 3 to 6 months out at a minimum from like a strategic plan. You should always have a 3 to 5 year goal and be working towards that. But you should be making decisions for 2022 right now. That's what we need to be doing.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm gonna be a little on the crazy side. I bought into if you know Chamath Palihapitiya, the billionaire that was with Facebook, right? And he talked about having a 40-year plan, or I've even heard of Elon Musk with a 150-year plan, which is far beyond what most people can think. But I can say a 40-year plan is something that I thought about, and I was like, that makes so much sense to just go down that road, especially since I'm in finance, right? And I'm in real estate. And so it's easy to kind of look down that far and then plan back to now, and it helps you make a decision. Oh, I need to buy that property now if I want that to produce income.
Exactly. And
I say, you're talking about people, that's a whole different level of complexity, right, than a financial instrument. And so I hear what you're saying with 3 to 6 months even.
But from the 40-year plan, I think that's actually a really good model, because so 40 years, I'm hopefully not going to be in my business. You're not going to be in your business, right? Like that. But what's the succession plan with that? Are you going to sell it? Are you going to give it to your kids? Do you just, there's different scenarios that can happen. And having a plan for that, and what the business if you're going to sell versus if you're going to give this to your kids, or something else is going to happen, or you're going to bring in a partner, and it's a very different conversation and a different direction you need to take your business today, right? If this is going to your kids versus something that you want to put on the market for sale, those are two different strategies that you might put in place. So I agree with that 40-year plan. I think that's a great idea.
I
might start using it.
I think it makes It makes things a lot easier, actually. I
Yeah.
wish I had learned it 20 years ago.
Right.
Because it literally allows you to know what you're obviously we're not talking about everything day to day, but to some degree, if you're going to plan to do something 40 years from now. I remember Chamath talking about, hey, he wanted to have this type of business. To do that, he had to build another business. And he said he spent 7 years building this one business. And the whole reason of building that business was so that he could start building another one. And I
That's
was like,
amazing.
who thinks like that? That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
crazy. And
Yeah.
but then if you do think that further on down the road, like every parent, if you're thinking, I just had a kid and my kid's probably going to go to university at some point,
Mhm.
how are we going to pay for it?
Right.
You start putting money away now, right? So people do some of these things and don't even realize that they do them.
Yeah.
And if they were to do that in their business life, and more so in their investing life, I think
Mhm.
that would make a difference. Now, for that matter, I think it would make a difference if they thought about that in terms of family life, fitness, all of these areas that we
Absolutely.
talk about, having wealth in. So
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, and it all ties together. Like
yeah,
when you're when you have a plan in your schedule, like some of the other stuff that we talk about often is um, productivity. So we do a lot of like
yeah,
block scheduling and some of that stuff, but always having the blocks for all these big pieces in your life, right? Like if exercise is really important to you, if eating healthy, like get that on the calendar. Now I'm a calendar
yeah.
person. I've talked to people who are like, I don't even want to look at a calendar. I just like to go and that's fine. But I'm one who I'll like if I say I'm going to work out, I'm putting it on there and I'm going to make sure that happens, right? So,
Mhm.
but that again, that's a mindset thing and it's different for everyone how you
Well, I think that's okay. Most people would know me as being very spontaneous.
yeah.
And what I would say is that my spontaneity or creativity really comes from discipline and structure. If all
Mhm.
of the other things are all in there structured and they're there,
Yeah.
then I don't have to worry about any of that. Oh, what am I doing? Am I doing this? My brain doesn't think about what I'm doing next.
Right.
I'm free to play in what I'm doing now.
I'm totally agree with that. There
Yeah.
think it's something so simple like years ago when people started putting their bills on like auto payment and it's like
Yes.
I used to have to go right like dedicate time to go do this and now it just happens and now I get that time back in my life to go do something different.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
totally yeah.
It's like why in the world do I'm trying to teach my 14-year-old son. He's doing a project
Okay.
and I'm trying to teach him the power of the teacher gives you some instructions, write it down. Write it down. And he's like, but I can remember it. I'm like, you don't want to remember it.
Right.
Why in the world would you want to put that in your head? You know, you're gonna
That's a, I
you're
like
gonna
that.
use those brain cells. Why would you want to do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I also like making a list of like I'm a list person too. So
Yeah,
but that sometimes that just consumes my mind. Like it's just too much. And write it all down and then like cross everything off except the top three. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, that's the only thing you have to do. Like forget all that other stuff because that's just
yeah,
like like you said, taking up brain cells, stuff that I
yeah.
don't have to worry about right now.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. Anyways, that's
that's
kind of
funny.
funny, but
Yeah.
I'm still working with them through that, and we're having fun trying to navigate
No, I
those
can only
waters,
imagine.
right?
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking I would remember everything, and then at some point I started realizing, when I was younger, I started realizing I don't want to keep this stuff in my head, like especially when I got into the government. I remember thinking these things change and it's not beneficial for me to keep these policies in my head. Rather, it's better for me to know that they're there and where I can reference
Mhm.
the
That's great.
material, right? Because and
100%.
so I think of my day very much like that.
Yeah.
If I've got it structured, then I'm not thinking about, oh, I got to go do this, oh, I got to do that. I've already got that plan
Right.
together, and now I can just flow in that.
Yeah, and similar, just to maybe elaborate on that a little bit. So I said I'm a calendar person, but at the
Yeah.
end of each day, I always look through the next day. And if I'm going to think about anything later in the day or in the morning or whatever, it's like I know what I have to do. And then I can almost run through some of those scenarios. If I'm talking with a client, if I'm doing this or that, I already know what's coming. And
Yeah.
I've given myself like 24 hours to play out the good, the bad, the ugly. And I just feel like it just like helps calm and perfect what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like a great practice.
Yeah.
I realize I do things like that, and maybe not as intentionally. I know once the kids go to sleep,
Yeah.
I'll tend to do a little bit more work, and then I just have some time where I'll allow my brain to go through all the things that it wants to go through from the day, anything it wants to go through for the next day, and then I'm like, all right, okay, good, shut it off. Now we can go
You
to
have to
sleep.
give yourself a little time to digest it all, because it's like
Yeah.
the days happen hopefully quick, right? Like it's just nonstop. There's stuff happening. And like if you don't have a release after that, it's like you just carry that into the next day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this this question. If you had to do it over again, you go back to 18, your 18-year-old self
Yeah.
before you made the jump into 19 and all of those things, what would you do differently?
Yeah. What would I do different? Honestly, I probably would have taken a bigger risk earlier on. Not a risk that wasn't planned, but I probably was a little too cautious at that time of my life where I thought like, hey, I had all the energy. I didn't have anything else holding me back. It was just me as a single guy. And I wish I would have just went for it, because you, like you said, you can always get a job. You can always get, there's always something else that can happen. Life changes, different scenarios present themselves. So you have so much time to, if this didn't work out, go to the next thing. Looking where I'm at today, it's a little like I can't be as risky with a wife and kids, and I like
Yeah.
just taking a big financial risk, but that I could have maybe when I was 18 or 19. So I wish I would have done that a little bit different, but that I think that's what it'd be.
Yeah.
Hey Neil.
Yeah.
5 minute mark, okay?
Yeah, perfect. Because here's my last question.
Okay.
Okay. Last question. Well, second last question. Where to now? What's up for you now? In the next 3 to 6 months, what are you working on?
Yeah. So right now I'm honestly like my goal for the rest of this year is my personal goal is to sit down with 20 different business owners and just help them build their plan for 22. So that's it. And I'm given that just as like my time to do that. I have some time in my calendar it's kind of structured, but I block that out where I can do something like that. And I just want to give that away to people because I think it's so impactful. Right now is the time to be planning for 22. And I just want to be there to help people do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. And final question.
Yeah.
How do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'll keep it really simple. I'll give my email if that works. It's Matt, M-A-T-T at cultivateadvisors.com.
Love it.
Yeah.
And so guys, if you want to check out Matt, you want to learn more, you want to be one of those 20 businesses that he's wants to work with, you can check out Matt at Cultivate Advisors, and we'll put the email in the notes, and
Awesome.
you guys can check out Matt. Any final words?
No, this has been great. Really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you sharing your wisdom, the trials, the underestimations, and all of it along the way. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Awesome. Same to you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's our show, and we'll see you guys next time on the Leadership to Wealth podcast.